How are you?
Great. I'm very fine, thank you. And you?
I'm good, thank you.
Fantastic. Okay. So thank you so much for joining the summit. I'm particularly happy and I'm very excited about this topic that we'll be discussing today. But first, I'd like to thank the amazing team. Okay, Aisha is here too as well. The Amazing Future Awards 2020 committee for putting together this diversity summit. And I'm particularly happy about the theme, talking about power, privilege, and the potential for real change. And without me wasting so much time, I'd like to go straight into the discussion for today. Thank you so much again for joining. Jake, I see you. Okay. Thank you. So I'll just quickly go straight into introducing the panelists. In no particular, I'll be introducing the panelists. So Fakria Hashim is one of our panelists today. She's a finance alumnus of Abu Dhabi University. She's a social and community development advocate in Nigeria. And she has worked with multiple NGOs and development agencies such as Girl Child Concerns in the conflict region, Borno State, on multiple SDGs. And then she's also known to have pioneered exploding conversation on sexual violence in northern Nigeria through the hashtag #MeToo, which drew inspiration from the global Me Too movement. She's also a multi-net specialist, such as the African Voices, Inside, and she has created tons of stories where she has covered thorny issues like alleged police brutality, sexual abuse, and surviving Boko Haram. Thank you, Fakria Hashim, for joining us today. And then thank you, Aisha Salahuddin, for joining us today. And then we also have Rebecca Enubong Roberts. Is a PhD candidate examining the intersectionalities between internal displacement, migration, and urbanization. And her sectorial experience spans community organization, support, community public health, public education. And presently, she's focusing on the intersectionalities between rapid internal displacements and internal migrations, as well as the implications for urbanization in Nigeria. So thank you, Aisha Salahuddin, for joining us. Thank you, Fakria, and thank you, Rebecca. So without wasting so much time, I'll just go straight into it. And I believe that we really can discuss feminism without fully getting an idea, right, of what we think feminism is. So I think I'll just start from Aisha. Aisha, can you give us like a little bit, maybe like 2 to 3 minutes, your view on what feminism is?
Thank you. So, feminism is personal for everyone. So I'll just say what I think it is or what it means to me.
Right.
To me, feminism is just the fight for equality. The fight to not be treated as subpar in society, the fight for women not to be relegated to the sidelines as we often see. So I guess in terms of feminism for me is pretty much just the demand or the fight to be equal, to be seen as equal in society, to not be treated as subhuman. That's the easiest way I would define feminism for me.
Right, great. Thank you, Aisha. Fakria, what's your view on feminism?
For me, it's about contextualizing the realities of women across the world. Every woman has her own very unique experience, and that is influenced by the environment she is in. So understanding that these realities tend to be very distinct. So having that in mind, contextualizing those realities and advocating for the, the socio-economic and political equality of people.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you. So I'd have Rebecca also give her view on what feminism is, so we can just go ahead. Rebecca?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Right. So for me, feminism is more of a personal concept, depending on how you define it.
Right.
But for me, it's about it's about understanding the context specifics of where the woman that you're trying to empower, or the issues that you're trying to address, applies, and understanding the socioeconomics, the religious, the cultural, in order to be able to navigate equality of life for those women. So for me, feminism is very context specific. For example, is not the same as an African woman. For me, feminism in
Right.
African woman is not the same as the Western cultural feminism. So yeah, that's what it means for me.
Okay, you said something now. Before I ask my next question, you said something about feminism and the culture. I would want you to just just break it down a bit for us to understand.
I think that globally, development has meant. Can you hear me? I'm really hearing a lot of noise, struggling. I think that
Oh, sorry about that.
globally, the concept of development has always been Western. So what is Western is, then brought to us in Africa or in Arabic countries, and we are then forced to contextualize it. No, we're not forced to contextualize it, because it doesn't consider, for example, my religious views. It doesn't consider my cultural background, because all of these things, all of these factors play a huge role on who I am as a person, as a woman who's African, and how I experience the world. So when you talk about feminism, for me, I mean, this panel was really interesting, because I'm one of those women that for the longest time people would call me a feminist, and I would say, no, I'm not a feminist. I don't like the word because I don't understand it in a global perspective. But as an African woman, now that I'm older, I'm beginning to think, yes, it's feminism, but it has to be in a way that it fits me. So to answer your question, really, it's understanding feminism in context specifics, because feminism for me, as a woman who's Nigerian, who's a Christian, who's from the South where I'm from, is different. It's going to be different for an Arabic woman who's Muslim or whatever. So I think in looking at it, for me, it's one of the arguments that I'm pushing is for people to look at it in the way that it applies, so that we're able to address the issue of equality if it means that.
Right, right. So from what I got is what you're saying now is that religion, culture definitely plays a role in the understanding of what feminism is about, right? Okay, so I just want to say something. So I think a few hours earlier, before coming on this panel session, I was going through a tweet, and then I saw a tweet from a Nigerian writer who said that she's a womanist and not a feminist. And then by the time I looked up what womanist means or meant, it basically means a woman of color that is a feminist. And then there goes the misconception. So what are your thoughts? And this is for Aisha Salah, because I know you've covered stories around human rights, and also I want to know, what are your thoughts on, do you think that there's a problem with the misconception of on what feminism is? Because if a woman is identifying as a womanist and not identifying as a feminist, what do you think is the problem here?
Is that for me or for her?
I was actually
Aisha.
Googling womanist because I didn't want
Right.
I was actually
Right.
Googling womanist. I didn't know what that meant. And Google
Right.
basically says it's a social theory based on the history and experiences of women of color. So I imagine it just means a feminist that is a woman of color. I think that there are many reasons why people avoid the title feminist. One of them is simply because of the kind of things that have been attributed to feminism. Sometimes when you hear feminism, the first thing people think, oh, it's an angry black woman, a woman who is pissed off. It's just been, a lot of people have, it has been misconstrued so much that people now associate it with something bad. So I think one of the major reasons or primary reasons why people avoid the tag is because they are linking it to those horrible associations. Maybe they don't fully understand it, they don't want to research it, and because everyone has said feminism is a bad thing, then they're worried about it. Another reason could just be maybe because of their cultural or religious beliefs. I've seen people who say, I'm not a feminist, I'm a Muslim feminist. So they try to make that distinction of the kind of feminist that they are, because feminism is so broad, it's encompassing, it's so broad that I don't think you can be everything it is, everything feminism encompasses. It's just like what you were saying, Rebecca, that it's so multifaceted that what is feminism to someone in the West might not necessarily apply to someone, in Africa. So I think people also avoid the tag because they're trying to link it to their cultural practice, their region, their location. Ultimately, I don't think that people should be afraid of the tag feminist, because if you're doing everything feminist, you're fighting for women's rights, you embody everything that is feminism, but you are denying the tag. I don't know who you're fooling, but what you're doing is feminism. You're a feminist. No matter how you try to avoid the tag, if what you're doing is feminist, people that recognize feminism would know. So I don't know who's deceiving who, to be honest. That's why when I see people say I'm a Muslim feminist, I'm like, we don't need to know that you're a Muslim. You support women first. You don't want women to be
Right.
at subpar. You're advocating against FGM, against sexual violence. You're a feminist. Stop hiding under the tag. But yeah, it's definitely because people are misconstruing it. Like the person who said she's womanist, I really don't know what she's doing, but sure, you can say you're womanist, but if you support women's rights and women of color, it doesn't make you any less feminist. Say womanist or humanist or what people say. Feminism is facing the problem. Who has been subdued the most? It's women who have been relegated to the sideline. It's women. That's why the word fem is there. You avoiding the word fem does not make you any less feminist. Does not mean that the problem is going to go away. So I think the sooner people start to admit the truth to themselves, the better, because you saying you're not a feminist but doing everything that it encompasses, I truly, who are you deceiving? Not me, not us feminists. You're deceiving yourself. So this is what I'm going to say about that.
Right, right. Thank you. Fakria, this is for you. So, with what Aisha just said, just asked, do you think that the word feminism itself is the problem? Because, if do you think the word is not inclusive enough? Do you think it's because it relates more to the feminine gender? That's why people have a problem with it. Do you think that that's the problem? Do you think the word feminism, if maybe we use something like intersectionalism, do you think that would solve the problem? Or what are your thoughts?
I don't think there's any problem with the word feminism because it is representative of women, and that's what it's for women's rights. Um, the 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 thing about intersectionalism is something that's sort of derived from feminism, right? That would cut across race, uh, sexuality,
Yes,
um, uh, across continents, and so I
yes,
mean that's feminism is a struggle for women, and fem stands for the female. So I don't see it's a
no,
I,
you know why I'm asking, or you know why I asked that question, because I was having a conversation with a friend some time ago, and he mentioned that he doesn't have a problem with feminism. He just feels like we women have taken the feminism to another level. We have forgotten that feminism is basically about gender advocacy, about equality of rights. It's masculine. It's for both genders. So, but we have taken it to heart, like it's for women. And I'm like, no. Do you think that the problem? So he was like, I think there's a problem with the word feminism. It shouldn't have been feminism. It should have been something that can that is generalized and not necessarily say, oh, it's for the feminine gender, it's for the masculine gender. So that's why I asked that question. Do you think that the problem here is the word feminism itself?
I mean, I don't see any problem there. I mean,
Right.
the comment you made, it's coming from a man, right?
Yeah.
And it's from that standpoint that, okay, society has allowed you to have certain things, so you should stay in your lane. And I mean, if he's that bothered with the term feminism, he can create his own, and uh, define the pillars he chooses to stay within. But that in 2020 we've moved past trying to get men especially to buy into the concept of feminism, because it's not about them. At the end of the day, your
Right.
opinion really doesn't matter as long as women continue to have a better understanding of what it is that they're struggling for. Um, if you continue to ask for the opinions of men around this concept, you're only going to get negative commentary, because their belief is, why do we have the audacity to push for more when we've been giving a little? So honestly, to a large extent, the opinion of men honestly does not matter, because if
Right.
it's up to them, all of these rights, all of these gains would be diminished.
Right. Right. So I kind of agree with you, but I don't know if Rebecca has like a different view. I'm looking at her expression, and it feels like she has something to say. I don't know if you have a different view from what Fakri has just said to buttress her point.
I don't necessarily have a different view. I maybe have a question for her. So,
Right.
since it's about women, does it matter then how some women perceive it? And I'll give you an example. So, in 2011 or 12, I'm not sure, I was just roaming about in Milan, and I stumbled into this street, and there was a huge protest going on. And basically, I didn't even know it was a protest. I had to ask, but basically, it was just hundreds of men laying on the floor and women in high heels putting one of their legs on top of the men. So I had to ask someone, like, what is going on? And he explained to me, oh, it was a feminist protest. And for me, it just didn't, I don't really know what the point of that is. And for some people that disagree with some things, that can be seen as attacking men, anti-men, or trying to bring the man down so that we can be on the same level. So for me as a woman, that's an insult, because doing that is assuming that the man is more than me, which I don't see that way. So my question to you is, what do you do with a group of women who feel this way about these kinds of protests? Or these kinds of, connotations of, oh, it's anti-man, it's attacking men, it's bringing men down so that we can be equal, because we cannot be seen to be right advocates and oppressors at the same time. So what do you say to that? Sounds like a stupid question, but
Is that for Fakri or me?
yes, for both of you, please.
Fakri, do you want to go first? Or should I? You're
Nana,
muted.
please, Nana, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I mean, honestly, my answer to that is First of all, why does it matter how the men perceive feminism? They're not the ones that are mostly affected by it. It's women who are facing female genital mutilation. Sexual abuse is mostly women. 1 in 4 women are going to experience sexual abuse before they turn 18. That's a very high number. It's women that are experiencing gender pay gap. It's women that are not being that have not been getting houses because people feel like women cannot afford it. Landlords are denying them rent. It's women that are being killed. So why should I care as a person how a man feels about it? Why I don't care. They didn't care when they were killing women, raping women, enforcing genital mutilation, and then taking away their rights. So why should I now be the nice one? In the fight for feminism, there's no being nice. There's no how men will perceive it because they did not bother about how we will perceive them taking our rights in the first place. What is the cost of this alleged hating of men? What is the cost? How is it going to affect them? They run the power circles in the country, in the world. They have the most power. So what is the cost of my own hatred? Nothing. But the cost of their own hatred, I'm feeling it every day, every second, every time. So why should I care how they feel? If someone wants to protest by putting her leg or hand on a man's neck, that's her business. I don't know her experience. I can only speak for myself. So I'm not going to say, oh, it looks like they're trying to show they hate men. So what? That's what I always tell people. So what? Women are suffering every day. Women are being nice. I always say, enough of this niceness. I'm going to have to forcefully take my rights back if I have to. Because every day I go out as a woman, I am scared. I'm sending my location to my husband every time. I'm telling my best friends where I am because I'm scared. I can't even jog outside my compound because I feel like somebody's going to rape me. Men don't worry about that. They don't care. They have male privilege. So why should I care how they perceive my feminism? They're not the ones on the receiving end. That's what I always say. So I don't care how any man perceives it. If I had my way, I wouldn't even bring them into any conversation with feminism. The only unfortunate problem is that they run the power circles, and at some point, they have to be brought in. But if not for that, I really don't care. So that I guess my answer is, I don't care how men perceive it because they never cared when they were breaking my rights, when they were breaking me. So I'm not going to give them that. That's why I don't debate feminism with men. You will never ever catch me doing that because they don't understand. They're privileged. And if you don't experience something personally, you may never get it. That's why I don't even debate things with them because what I'm saying now sounds like an exaggeration to them. It's like, why is this girl saying her life is threatened? They don't get it because you're not a woman. So is it that kind of person that I'll now be debating feminism with? Or is it that kind of person that I'll be saying, oh, what if they think I hate men? I don't care. I don't know if Fakria has another opinion, but I've gotten to a point where I don't care how men feel about it. That's their personal problem. They can go and cry somewhere. I don't care. Okay.
I'm not sure we can hear you, Dami.
Yeah, no, we can't hear you.
Oh, so sorry about that. I think I was on mute. So I said, I think the question was for you and for Aisha and Fakria. So yes, so Fakria, your opinion or your comment.
Absolutely everything that Aisha said. And I really feel the discussion or the conversation needs to progress and move away from, defining feminism because we've already done that. We've been doing that for decades. It needs to move away from trying to get, men's acceptance. It's moved far beyond that. So, conversations like this need to also progress with, the progress that we've made, right? Um, it's it's very critical that we do that because that rather than discussing whether or not a woman chooses to identify as as a feminist, that's her own personal problem, right? And that is guided by her own level of understanding or her own level of ignorance or her own personal beliefs. So whether or not she chooses to identify as a feminist, it is her own personal choice. And at the core of feminism is the belief that yes, a woman has the right to have that choice. but also um, everyone else has the right to not allow conversations like that hinder where the conversation needs to be at. We need to, rather than discussing strategies or initiatives, whatever practical activities feminists are onto, we're diminishing ourselves by having to debate the definition, or all of these discrepancies that are based off of people's realities, right? I deeply believe that we've moved past conversations like this.
Right, right. Thank you. So while I agree that we have moved past conversations like this, I think one of the reasons why this conversation also came up is because we believe that if we have more people, more women understand the concept of feminism, then we can have more benefits. Because we are still going to talk about the benefits of feminism to the society, right? But I believe, or we believe that the idea is if we have enough people who have a deeper understanding of how feminism works, what feminism is about, then we are able to even benefit more, right? The society is able to benefit more, right, from this feminism, right? And I think I agree in terms of discussing the feminism, but I also, in terms of discussing the benefits, but I also want us to see how can we also have people who don't really understand the concept of feminism understand the concept in order for us to be able to gain more for the society. Right. So I don't know, Fakira, if I was able to answer that part. Right. I understand that we should talk about benefits, which we are talking about now. And speaking of that, I want to hear from you, Fakira. Yes. So let's know. So I know that feminism in some way has been able to put people now have, you can now find women in top positions in organizations. You find them speaking where they would normally not even speak. You find them doing things that they would not normally do, right? What are some of these benefits that probably maybe you have experienced, right? And you feel like you need to share. And what are those things that you think that we still need to work on? What the society still needs to work on in terms of, or what the people still need to work in terms of accepting what feminism is? Okay, that was for you.
For
You,
me, Damola,
yes, that was for you. That was for you.
um, I mean, at the core of feminism, and whatever initiatives that are out there, it's for one purpose: to further the woman, the the woman standing in society, and in whatever society. And I do not see that having anything but benefits, right? Everything that surrounds it, whatever it is, consciously awakening women, like you mentioned, by having them really understand, the the concept and all of its varying uh, contextual definitions and initiatives. Um, so I mean, there's nothing but benefits. Even the men hating rhetoric is somehow empowering someone somewhere from the shackles of whatever relationship they have with men around them. I mean, it sounds negative, but I don't see it as being negative, because at the end of the day, like Aisha mentioned, who has feminism killed, right? So I mean, that's just what I think.
Rebecca, I see that you have something to say. You have something to say. I see that.
No, not really. I like what she's saying. Feminism hasn't killed anyone, but
Right.
I still think that for us to have difficult conversations, be it about feminism, be it about anything that has to do with rights, I wouldn't say I am very particular about it not affecting other people in a negative way, or not seeming like I'm fighting for rights. So for example, not becoming the human rights people who during NSAS say, oh yeah, NSAS is about human rights and oppression, but we don't want the LGBTI people to be the forefront of it. But then if it's really about rights, then it doesn't have a but or a if, it's about everybody. So for me, I think I completely agree with everything that she says, but I still think it's very important to understand where everybody else is coming from so that we can bring everybody to the table and we can sit down with other people and try to see where they're coming from. Maybe even look at the barriers that make some people say, oh, I don't like the term, or this is how I see it, or this is how I see certain things that is affiliated with this. So I guess it's not really a question, it's just a contribution to what she said.
Right. Right. Great. Aisha, do you have anything to say on that?
No.
Right. Okay. So great. So I was going to ask this question too as well, because I know that while I agree, like I said earlier, I agree that we move past the idea of people accepting what feminism is. I still feel, right, that a lot of people, because I've had friends who say that, oh, I support feminism. I like the idea. Female friends, I like the idea of feminism. But like, I can't necessarily tag myself as a feminist because I, my society or the culture doesn't allow me to do this. So what can we say? Because it feels like if we stick to that's our understanding, then we are not really helping ourselves, right? So what are the things that we feel like we can do to help people gain a better understanding of the concept of feminism, so they move from just staying on the cultural or religious beliefs, right, but then standing on their own belief of human rights, of gender equality and all? What are those things? Because I feel like we cannot continue, we cannot keep saying, oh, the feminism, there are some gains, benefits of feminism in society, but then a lot of the female gender still cannot associate with that term, feminist. And but then they believe they support equal rights, they support equal pay, they support freedom from violence, they support equal opportunities for women in male-dominated fields, but then they don't want to associate or tag themselves as feminists because their culture, the society doesn't necessarily accept that. What can we say to those people? What do you think we can say to them?
Is that for me?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, if someone understands equal rights, understands that there's prejudice against women in the society, it means the person really has a great understanding of how women are treated. It means the person knows what women go through. And if after all of that understanding and comprehension, the person decides that she does not want to be called a feminist, then there's very little that someone like me or someone like Sophia or Rebecca can do, because you understand it, you understand the fight for equality, or you have chosen that you don't want the title. It's completely different from someone who doesn't understand it and say, you know what, can you talk to me about feminism and speak with it? That sort of person, you can talk to the person about feminism and say, and convince the person maybe to take up the movement. But if I have a great understanding of something and I don't want the label, then I'm not going to force you to take the label because you get it. And at the end of the day, it's your choice. You get it. You're very fine with it. You support it, right? But you don't want the label. You know, like part of feminism is just letting people be with their own ideology as long as they're not harming anyone else. So with that understanding, I'm not going to try to argue with someone who says I'm not a feminist, but I get it. Because you get it, so why should I argue with you? As long as you're not hindering the progress of other women, or you're not helping to be prejudiced by the here today, then there's nothing left for me to do. It is someone who does not understand it and genuinely wants to understand it that comes and says, Aisha, let's talk about feminism. I'm going to say, okay, here's why I'm a feminist. Here's what it is. That's the kind of person that I may, if I have the chance to. Not someone who is worried about societal expectations for whatever reason. This doesn't mean I'm judging the person. I understand that
Right.
we are conditions, growing up. It's very hard to change something that you have grown up with all your life. I'm not going to come one day and convince you that everything is new is, is wrong. It doesn't work that way. It's only people
Right.
that are able to understand that will take it. So it's, for example, friends that you say that they understand this, but they don't want the label. There really isn't anything that you can do. Are you going to force them to say you must be a feminist? They get it, so let them be. It's people who are really seeking to take on the label, who really want to get it, that I would sit down with and say, you know what, let's chat. This is why I'm a feminist. Tell me something. I hope that answered the question. Basically, I'm saying in summary is anyone who understands it but doesn't want the label should be left alone because really they get it and they don't want it, so leave them.
Right. So I think I don't think I have to ask for Fakuya again because she has said it tons of times. It's almost like I'm telling you, don't be bothered about this. Let's just
No,
focus on.
actually, uh,
No, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. Oh, I think I lost her.
Yeah,
Next,
I think she froze.
yes. So while we
Yeah.
wait for her to get back on, yeah, Rebecca.
I think that, like Aisha has said, you can't force it on people, right? But I think that it's very the reason why we cannot force it on people is because it's a it's a globalized idea that we are trying to each fit to where we come from, to how our culture is different. If you ask me at a global stage, are you a feminist? I would say I'm an African feminist because there are things that the European feminist necessarily stands for, which it doesn't fit into my cultural upbringing, and it's not something you can't force it on me basically. So I would say that for us to open up the conversation for other people that for people to find what is feminism for them where they live, because I would like to think that my grandmother was a feminist, but she wasn't called a feminist. She was called something else. I would like to think that all those the Aba women, they were feminists. They were not called fem, they were called something else. So I think if we start looking at it in the context of how it applies to people, in no matter the situation that they are, how does it apply to them? How do they practice, this? I have seen strong feminist women, even in Sokoto, in Adama. I've seen women who are very powerful, who are for other women, but they are not necessarily called that. And I think that we should be a bit on not understanding, adjusting to how they practice their own feminism, how it fits them. I think we all win when we do that, as opposed to trying to use the one size fit all, which is how we lose people basically. Yeah.
Right, right. I think I agree with you on that too as well. Fakuya, you were going to say something before you were.
um, so I just wanted to say, so I mean, at the beginning of this conversation, one of the things that we talked about was the contextualization of realities, right? And this is something that Rebecca emphasized again. So it's not about saying that every woman has to be a feminist, or no, it's not about that. It's about us understanding what struggles we face in our society. our various societies, and understanding that we need to equip ourselves with whatever strategies and sets of actions that we can to push against these bottlenecks. And I've over time I've come to the belief that just us sitting and discussing what feminism or what feminism isn't doesn't always progress the conversation. But what it does is the actions that we put in place, what feminists do to further our agenda, right? What are the things that we've put in place? What are the initiatives? What have we done to address certain struggles that women face uh, in their realities? And this is what matters at the end of the day. The conversation of no, I am not a feminist. It it is irrelevant in the greater scheme of things in what feminists are trying to pursue. It really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it just results in petty talk that just distracts us away from actual you know actual realities that women face. So yeah, I think whatever a woman or anyone can do to balance the scales of inequality, at the end of the day, that's what's important.
Fantastic. That was a good one. Rebecca, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, just based off what she said about actionable steps, if I could do one thing, in the
Yes.
area of like education, if I could do one thing to further girl child enrollment or school attendance, I would, now moving from the talks to now action. So in like policy steps, I would personally, if I had the power to, I would personally maybe create a law that allows the girl child who maybe has, very horrible periods like I did when I was young, to write her WIAC exam after her period, for example, because I think that I know many children, I personally experienced it, who had to put forward, critical events like writing those kinds of exams to the following year because, they just couldn't, cope with it. So I think, like she said, in moving from, the generalization and the talks about what feminism means is how do we, in our own context as a country, Nigeria, what specific actions are we proposing? So in like education, in health, in abortion, in all those things, these are, like she said, these are the kinds of conversation that we need to start having in the context of feminism. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Right, and I think I agree. I think you and Fakri have been and Aisha have successfully moved me from the the idea or the concept or the notion that I had when coming to this meeting to talk about why people don't identify as feminists to basically actionable strategies on what to do next, like the tactical like things that we need to do, right, for us to be able to get benefits or gains from the concept of feminism. Yes, so you said one about um, making a law, right, that would help um, ladies or girls who have like bad periods or who are in periods take their exams right after they're done. What is one thing that Aisha would do?
There are many things to do in society for equality. And I always feel like people think is when you do big things. You don't have to do the explosive stuff before you're supporting women. Something as little as like what I do in my daily life is I tell stories. I feel like in fact, I started my career as a journalist with the trauma of another woman because I was telling the story of how police brutality found out. So what I do constantly in my daily life is just talk about how women are affected in society and the best ways that we can solve it. So I think that's one way of providing awareness and amplifying the solution. So what am I saying that I do? I constantly tell stories of women who have been abused, who have experienced some form of inequality one way or the other. I also talk about solutions in terms of effective policy, in terms of domesticating laws that protect women, in terms of just going on Twitter and ranting about women issues, putting pressure on stakeholders. And women can do the same if what you're great at doing is writing an article about it, write an article. What you're great at doing is going on different panels and having conversations so that people can pay attention. Do it. If you want to join a feminist coalition group that is, working to help women, do it. If you want to join an NGO, do it. There's so many ways that you can support women slowly. It doesn't have to be a, in quotes, get thing before you're really supporting women. So I think there are very many ways to do that in your life, and I've explained some of them. So, but for me personally, my own journey is telling stories. I've been doing it since I became a journalist, and I don't intend on stopping. So, with for career, I know it's many things that I want me to. There's just so many ways to do it. So I think it's not limited to policy. It's not limited to education. There's just so many ways which I've mentioned. I hope I answered that question because I feel like I was just.
Oh, yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. So I'll go to Fakri. I know that you were basically the pioneer, or you're literally known to have pioneered the conversation on sexual violence in northern Nigeria through the Arewa Me Too movement. And I want to know, I know this is like a big thing, what's like the next step you're taking, right? To also, because this is one of the things that a feminist would do. So what's the next thing after this Arewa Me Too movement, which you pioneered? What are those things that you're also looking at doing?
Well, I would say, has it finished? Has Ariel Me Too finished? What have we been able to achieve? Have we seen significant forms or um, alterations of our behaviors towards women? No, we haven't. We there's 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 just so much to do, right? Because we, not just northern Nigeria, we live in a society where Nigeria is not responsive to the betterness of women by by its institution. It is not. So unless we're able to ensure that shift in how our institutions respond to the plight of women, then it's really just baby steps, right? Um, and I think I've kind of hopped on my what's next, being part of the feminist coalition, which is focusing on the welfare of women across Nigeria, with regards to political representation, improving the welfare of women that go through gender-based violence, and through educating women and girls to be able to make better decisions and to be able to carve better paths for themselves. So you know there are excesses of things that need to be done, and like Aisha said, you don't no one needs to go out of their ways to start an NGO to do this. No, it is about what you can do your from the space that you're already in, right? From your own profession. What are you doing to improve the welfare of women, to change the narratives that do not favor women, right? These things are incredibly important, and these are really the things that actually make an impact in the long run. Yes, you start an NGO, you do this, you take girls to school, you're doing a lot, you're taking sanitary pads. That's incredible, right? But I'd like to think that what we do in our own personal and professional spaces has a lot more impact in changing the narrative, because you're going into new spaces and you're altering their own perceptions on issues. You're going to foreign areas and you're trying to change how they, your involvement with them. You're using your own personal experience, your own professional capabilities to sort of overturn this backwards perception of women. So, I mean, we'll never run out of things to do when it comes to improving the social standing of women. And you know we have a lot of young people across Nigeria that are very conscious of that, and I do believe it starts from there, or it's already started from there.
Right, right. Fantastic. Thank you, Fagria. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Aisha. I think we have just like a minute left, but I know that what I'm taking away from this conversation, which I really, really love, by the way. Thank you so much. I love the fact that we were open to discussing about, and then we also give our suggestions on the next steps to take. So I think my own take home is that we shouldn't stick to looking out for people who don't understand what the concept of feminism. We shouldn't try to force feminism on anyone. They don't need to understand if you don't, right? But what matters most here is, what are those things that we're doing, right, as the people who recognize themselves as feminists to help better the society. I think that's what I'm able to take on. I think I'll just take like just 30 seconds, everyone, last words, so we can wrap up. So I'll start with Rebecca. 30 seconds.
I would like to say thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure to listen to these two great, amazing women and to kind of learn a few things from them like I have. And for me, going forward, I'll be taking with me some of the key points that they've made, which is this also is something that we can all do in our own little spaces, in our own spheres of influence, and a little actionable steps count. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Rebecca. Aisha, let's take it 30 seconds, then Fakira 30 seconds, and we will go.
I really don't have anything more to say. I think it's just, I'll simply say, if you don't think that your gesture to help women has to be grand or something big, just from your little corner, support women, donate to organizations that help women, and let's not get distracted debating with people who don't or who will never really understand what we experience. Let us focus on ourselves and making things better. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Fakria.
Yeah, so I do hope that the progress that feminism and feminists have made and the conversations that we have need to reflect that progress. I do believe we should not be having conversations on why women don't want to be feminists, or why, so, we need to be able to use the privilege of the platforms that we have to improve the quality of conversations that we have.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you to everyone who listened in. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic weekend. Jake, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Damola.
Thank you very much, Damola. That was an absolutely phenomenal session. I was also learning from the insights that people were sharing across various sessions, and I'm like taking notes. I'm drafting tweets. I'm literally capturing really key insights from the summit so far. Anyways, I hope you all are having a really, really good time. This is not just in terms of words. This has demonstrated to be the largest conversation on diversity and inclusion on the African continent, but it's also a very robust and diverse set of panels talking about the rights of minorities, what feminism literally means, and how governance should be able to include more women. I think the conversation has been really robust, And I've been looking through my like Twitter and Instagram feed. I've been seeing so many comments, snapshots from various people. Okay, so right now we're going to go into another set of really critical, striking conversations, but there's also going to be an MTV-based session coming up very soon. I'll introduce a set of panels and I'll tell you who you should expect to hear from. The first one is titled Blind Spot. Do we really see people with disabilities? And this one would be moderated by someone I know very well, Damola Morenikeji, who is the COO of Joy Inc. But on the panel, you're going to hear from Adenike Oyetunde, who's a media personality, Oluwatomi Nisin Kolawole, CEO of Vinsight, Toby Loba Ajayi, the founder of Let Cerebral Palsy Kids Learn Foundation, and Adetola Edema, who is an autism educator. So they will be talking about blind spot. Do we really see people with disabilities? Another session that will be going up very soon is titled, Is This Us? The Many Holes in Nigeria-America Portrayals of Our Experience. And we have a very robust panel, Patricia Obozua, who is the Director of Communications and Public Affairs for GE Africa, together with Eniola, who is a content creator. And we have a prolific author, Chinedum Akiti, who's going to be moderating that particular session. And then, of course, focusing on MTV-based session, and this is on alternative style and sound succeeding here while staying true to yourself. We have Toby Mohammed, who is a popular artist manager and founder of Block Party Series. We also have Amarachi Nwosu, a storyteller that we know very well. There's also Good Girl LA, who is an artist, and Peter Pierce Elosia, a digital market coordinator with Viacom CBS Networks Africa. And Folu Storms, we all know this guy we all know Folu Storms as a TV personality and actor. Sorry about that. So that's the MTV-based session. And we also have two more sessions to go along with that. We have workspaces, what companies need to do about a socially engaged workforce. On the panel is Soromi Dayo George, Director of Corporate Affairs and Sustainable Business, Unilever Nigeria PLC. We have Ade Shola Awofesho, who is the Head of Employee Engagement and Culture, Human Capital Management for Sterling Bank. We also have Akin Banuso, who is the Country Manager for Microsoft Nigeria, and Jean Friedberg, the Director of Global Partnerships at the Human Rights Campaign. One other person on the panel is Daphne Akatuba, the Marketing Manager, Sterling Bank PLC. So you can see it's like really packed. And I think I really want to know about this like workspaces, what companies need to sort of know and do about socially engaged workforce. And the last panel session that will be going on simultaneously is one that is on capitalism, and it's titled Capital No. Are young people tired of capitalism? On the panel is Osita Abana, the Global Communications Manager for Coca-Cola. We have Shekina Olagunju, the Senior Associate Client Partnership for Red for Africa, and Ozioma Emerem, CEO of Neuro One Energy. And this would be moderated by Juliet Ukpabio Archibong, the CEO and Chief Negotiator of Adiaha Trading Limited. So enjoy and tune into these sessions, and we will be back for some very special gifts we have for you, and of course to close this very important summit. Like I said, don't forget to use the hashtag, and don't forget to share your insights using the platform. The hashtag is TFAA15, hashtag the Future Festival, and hashtag the Age of Revolution. See you soon.